Hey guys, MrPokke here. So I kind of just want to give a quick little video regarding my thoughts on Wedding Carmen, her dupes, her Arcana. She'll be putting for her placements in RTA, as well as my overall performances and build for your considerations, right? So without further ado, just a quick little summary. I would say in terms of PvP, she's definitely going to be a must pull. I would say closest thing to a 10 out of 10. In terms of PvE, I haven't really seen as much use case with her for now, but I would say if you do not have yourself like a Wealth Ashura, like the one we see over here, we are going to be able to get at least, I would say, Limit Break 3 plus Wealth Ashura, then I think she's going to be helping a lot in terms of survivability, because this unit sustain is pretty much one of the highest amount of heals I've actually seen in the entire game. So if you're struggling with keeping your team alive, she's definitely going to be able to help you out there, right? So I'll split this segment into generally what she does, how do you build her, she'll be pulling for her in terms of the dupes and Arcana. Then towards the end, I'm going to be talking about the PvP performances, as well as how do you draft your teams around Wedding Carmen, right? So jumping straight in, I would say for Wedding Carmen, if you take a look into the builds I have as of this moment, she's pretty much going to be built as like a full tank. You don't really need any speed in that sense. The only thing that she really wants is just HP, right? As much HP as humanly possible with a little bit more speed. You don't want her to be too slow, because her S2 does have a 2-turn cooldown. So if she's gonna be too slow and you let your enemy lab you too many turns, then she might not proc this as frequently as she would like to. So anywhere along the higher than 180-ish speed is gonna be more than sufficient, right? Just make sure that she's not so slow to the point where she gets lapped. So to fix this, it is very simple. Just simply give her like a speed rope, as well as this is going to be BOI speed boots, and personally I am going to be running for the DX series. Ideally I will actually give this to either the HP option or the speed option. Defense is a little bit useless for her, so if you can get yourself there, that's going to be very sufficient. You can see from my personal relics that I gave her is actually not really too good, so this is just a little bit of an additional crit. All of these crits that just kind of just came as an extra. I didn't even want them in the first place, so this random 70% crit rate, it is purely just from the additional subs. That's right. The only thing that you really care about Wedding Carmen is just HP percentage, as well as maybe a little bit of speed. If you want to, you could consider giving her some effect rest if you don't want her to get, like, for example, silenced by like Bell or whatever. Generally speaking, I would say HP is gonna be the #1 priority, followed by a little bit of speed over there, right? So that is basically how I would build my Wedding Carmen. In terms of your skills, you don't really need to level up them by too much. The only one I really want to level up as you play the game long enough is gonna be bringing their skill 2 into level 8, so that you can get your additional cooldown recovery at level 6, as well as the plus 10% action gauge, so you can actually bring them up by 30%, which is absolutely massive in PvP. So that's pretty much it. For ultimate, just as usual, level 6 for the cooldown reduction, and that is pretty much done, right? So at this point, I would say, should you be pulling for your Wedding Carmen's dupes, I would say generally, if you're just gonna be playing this in like a very casual game, then I don't think it's gonna be too necessary. But if you're gonna be trying to be competitive in PvP, right, especially if you want to try to climb the ranks of like top 10, I would say, then this is definitely going to be a lot more impactful, because you are going to be going from essentially, I believe at level 1 it's going to be 18% all the way up to 30% action very advanced, which is 12% action gauge in PvP is roughly equivalent to, I would say, more than a 10 speed difference. So having the additional 12%, it's definitely going to be helping you a lot, especially if we're going to be fighting up against those like enemy cleavers that are going to be outspeeding your entire team. So that is pretty much the overall gist of how you want to build her. So in terms of stat line, if you have anywhere above, I would say 60k HP, because I'm really level more than 237. If you take a look into the RTA adjusted stats, where everybody's going to be at level 200, and kind of just take my match history over here, my Wedding Carmen is going to be roughly 67k HP, 188 speed, and then everything else just really doesn't matter too much. A little bit of defense mainly just came from the DX series, because I didn't get the DX3, but again, as long as you have above 60k HP, you should be more than sufficient. I think this unit generally is just very easy to build. You don't really need to give her too many things, because all you really need to do is to make sure that she's on the field, and then she keeps her team alive with a unique passive to ensure that your carry does not die, and then she would have basically just done the job in her existence, right? In terms of, I would say, your Arcana, which is going to be seen from this right here. I did find myself to have a very, very lucky Arcana boost from my experience in winning Carmen. I wouldn't say this is actually going to be worth it for max limit breaking. This is going to be 4 copies, because the thing is you can really just give her to Carmen herself, and that is pretty much it, right? This is only going to be for Carmen. One very interesting is you could potentially give this to your normal Carmen right here. So if I want to show you guys a quick little example, if you were to give this as a Carmen journey right here, so this is going to be the original Defender Carmen. I'm just going to slap on some random units over here, and you can see that I can in fact use the Wedding Carmen Arcana for the normal Carmen, which I actually would consider this to be more useful than the previous Evasion Arcana, because generally speaking, you don't really care too much about a Wedding Carmen, or rather the normal Carmen, counter-attacking in PvP as much as compared to, for example, generating additional Nova Force, right? So where is this right here, you cannot run both at the same time, but I would say specifically for the Defender Carmen, Nova Force, I would say this is going to be more important than the additional counter-attack, because she doesn't really do any damage anyways. Maybe at most she does a little bit of toughness bar damage, so pretty interesting that you can actually give this to both different Carmens, but I would say because the use case of this Arcana is going to be so restrictive, it is not really too worth it, especially if you're going to be a free-to-play or light spender, to get this to beyond more than 1 copy, right? But that being said though, I would say that if you're going to be using her specifically Wedding Carmen in RTA, this is a very, very good skill, because I noticed that your additional toughness, it will be very important against green units, specific units like Lin or Haiti, which can break your toughness bar on Wedding Carmen, and if her weakness is gonna be broken, she actually cannot summon or rather use her S2. So that +1 toughness bar definitely helps quite a bit when it comes to preventing those situations, and additional 2 Nova Force from S2 and S3 is always gonna be very, very useful, even though she's just gonna be a supporter, because she cannot have access to the Emily Arcana that gives you additional Nova Force over time, right? So 1 copy is going to be enough if you want to play Wedding Carmen. So to summarize a little bit, in terms of your best bang for buck, I would say as a free-to-play, I will try to get at least 1 copy with a Limit Break 0 Arcana and a Limit Break 0 Carmen itself, because at the end of the day, this is going to be a limited unit, right? They are never going to be coming back into the original pool of units we have in terms of the standard. So if she goes away, then she's pretty much going to be going away forever. So I would just get 1 copy. Also, this art looks absolutely diabolical, so that is pretty much going to be that, right? So with the builds out of the way, just quickly want to come over this segment real quick. In terms of your Gauntlet and default relics, I wouldn't really care too much about the difference. You potentially could consider running a 4-piece speed, but I wouldn't, because the heal amount is completely tied to your HP. So the more HP you have, the more heals are going to be doing for a carry. So running 4-piece HP is something that I generally find to be the most effective, although you could consider running speed just in case they outspeed your DPS by too much. Then you can maybe cast an emergency S3 to keep your DPS alive, right? Other than that, that's pretty much going to be majority of the build right there. So at this point, I'm just going to be yapping over some RTA B-rolls, as well as some thoughts of my draft process with my experience playing Wedding Carmen. As of this moment, I think I more or less have figured out how I am drafting with the current environments that we have in RTA. Of course, because this is just going to be the start of the season, and because this is just going to be pre-season, the meta is very, very volatile. So don't worry too much about it if you're going to be encountering some very weird strategies. But for me personally, this is just going to be from my personal experience on my account on what I found to be the most success in terms of drafting so far. So using this, like let's just say for example, this is an example, I always ban Hilde without fail, but that's just gonna be my personal preference, because I really do not want to play 50% preemptive guard. It is too cringe. If you do like to play Hilde's preemptive guard yourself, or you don't mind gambling, you can feel free to ban anyone else. Like for example, I've seen a lot of like Rosaria bans, I've seen like Emily bans, I've seen like for example, this guy just banned Eliza, which is very, very interesting. So this match, I believe what's gonna happen is that they will one-shot my Tyria. I revive Tyria, and then Tyria is just gonna slowly one-shot the Haiti, and then the match should basically be wrapped up from there, right? They will definitely outspeed me, which is kind of fine. Yep, they definitely outspeed me, it's okay. So most likely he's gonna try to silence my Eliza to prevent the revive. Okay, does not silence Eliza, so he's gonna silence the Tyria here, which is pretty interesting since my Tyrion not casting an S3 is actually completely fine because I don't have enough Noah Force anyways. Now it's gonna be a bit of a weird situation because my Tyrion is just gonna basic. And if she were to kill my Tyrion now, I am simply gonna revive her, which is odd. Does get off the kill. Unfortunately, I don't think that was the right play. Oh, well, he's actually going for go for the S3. Very, very ballsy play by this guy. Let's just see what's up. See if my fake gets off the counter. And if it does get off the counter and the enemy gets hit, and we do get off 2 hits over here. Very, very nice. I'm just gonna be coming in here right now to get off a weakness break. I think we should have enough for the final tick there. Let's just go for the bell. Okay, he blocked it anyway, so just like this. So that is gonna be a weakness break there. My Lysa is just gonna immediately revive. Even if Hades pops open the S3, I don't think he's gonna be able to kill my Tyria. But I mean, if he does, then that will be in a bit of a problem for us here. I'm just gonna instantly slam in my face on S3 here. Then we'll see if the Hades outspeeds or rather kills my Tyria. I don't think that should be possible though. Alright, then we hope that my Tyria outspeeds as well. I'm not quite able to land that. So at this point the match is pretty much just over, so I'm just gonna Nova Burst S3. This is gonna give Hades the maximum amount of stacks. And then I will definitely one-shot this Hades immediately. So we pop this. Boom. And then this should probably just die. Very, very good. So even at this point, if he kills my Tyria, she really did a job because really one-shotted the Hades. So there's not a lot of things that he can do left. My Roberta is pretty much in front of it and one-shot as well. So he does get an action very advanced, but it doesn't really matter anymore. Probably going to be going for the Roberta kill. If the Scylla into Bell kills my Roberta here, that would be a little bit scary. So let's see what's up. Okay, unfortunately, did not get a crit for him, so it is what it is. Alright, did not get a crit again. So I'm just gonna pop open my break skill. And at this point, I'm just gonna go all in for this battle right here. And then the match is pretty much done. Just as one example that I can showcase right here. Right? At this point, he doesn't really have any move play. Okay, I guess he doesn't want FX. So, yep, just one of the demonstrations of how to craft in this current environment. I would say banning out Wedding Carmen is like really, really important nowadays because she just has way too much utility. So it is what it is. Let me just wrap up over here and wrap up over here. I'll try to do one more match where I can play Wedding Carmen just to show you guys how she actually plays out. So give me 1 second. Alright, we do have another match right here with a JP player. Elo is going to be a little bit low. So let's see what we have. Once again, I always ban my Hilda. Okay, they also ban Hilda. Let's see if we can actually pick ourselves a Wedding Carmen match today. So first pick that. Honestly, if I want to, I could just ban out Welt's Ashira. And then we can let Fake. Okay, you know what? Let's just show this match, right? So they ban on the Wedding Carmen, which is gonna be fine. I ban the Fake, then we are just gonna give my Emily the additional fastest possible speed. Then we'll see if we actually outspeed the team, because my Emily is honestly really fast. So we'll see what's up. If I do outspeed, there's almost no chance that they kill my Kira here. Okay, so we do outspeed. That is very nice. I'm just gonna go here and give her the shield right now. And then I do not want to pop my HP because there is going to be a Roberta there. Then we'll let this Welt Ashura pull us up, which is fine. We'll see if they can one-shot my Kira from here. Even if they do one-shot my Kira, there's pretty much just no way that they can... Oh, wow, okay. They are going to be trying to go for my Elisa, which was a very, very interesting choice because I basically do as full tank. Does get blocked by the Emily, Rosaria, or rather Luna is going to go with, but I don't think she's going to be dealing anywhere near enough damage. 13,000 is very, very good. Rocks over my Roberta's passive. So, yep, she's going to... Oh, wow. Okay, so they are not gonna aim DPS, which is definitely a very strange choice because my Elisa is built like a goddamn tank. But no matter the case, I am actually just going to instantly pop open my S3 because after my S3 does have the AoE attack, it's gonna be absolutely insane amount of damage. I can immediately revive my Rosaria again. So that Roberta didn't really do too much for us there. I mean, my Kira is just gonna come in and snipe this Buckle right now. I mean, the match is already over because he doesn't have defenders to block my points anyways. So we snipe out the Roberta, and we're just gonna go here for the S2. Doesn't even have the additional attack, but at this point, the match is basically over, right? So even if you were to kill my Rosaria, my Kira is just gonna slowly snipe out the entire team. I'm really not too sure why he's going for my Elisa, because she's legit built like full tank. So very, very interesting choice. My BX is still coming in at full force, which is just a little bit unfortunate that he is not going to be able to get this victory. So it is what it is. Surprised that he's still actually going, so we're just going to try and wrap this up. Pop this on the save, and then yep, that is gonna be game right there. Right? So that is gonna be game number 2. I'll try to get one last game for you to see if we can get a Carmen. If I really can't get a match, then it is what it is, right? Alright, be right back. Alright, hopefully this match we can actually play Wedding Carmen, but even though we didn't manage to get to play Wedding Carmen, hopefully you guys can also see like the thoughts and process behind the bans and drafts, or rather bans and picks. They are going to be betting Hail Day, which is going to be fine. So we're once again going to open up with Carmen. Oh, okay. I'm just going to ban a Roberta, because if we ban a Roberta, there really is just no way for them to counter my Tira whatsoever. They ban my Elisa, so now I actually have one match with my Wedding Carmen, so that's actually really, really good. So I'm actually going to give this match a go. We have 3 different DPS at the same time, which could be a little bit scary, but at the same time, they basically do not have any DPS themselves. They have like 2 tanks and 2 supports. I guess Sarah is kind of like a DPS, so we'll just see how this match turns out. But what I'm guessing is going to happen is that the rest of my team is going to fall very, very quickly. My Faye does get the Bond, which honestly is not that good, because I would rather my other units get the Bond here, but it is what it is. Goes for the Rosaria. I just think there's no way to actually kill her. It does get a crit here. Okay. He's gonna go shielding. Then most likely he's gonna pop a basic. But my Rosaria is definitely gonna be able to let go of a turn here. If he goes for the basic on Rosaria, that would be a mistake, by the way, because I'm gonna get off a attack buff. Okay, so he just gave me an attack buff for free. Unless this Welt's Asha one-shots me, it will be a little bit scary. Okay, unfortunately does not get off the one-shot, so I got off a free attack buff. Thank you for that, I guess. So I'm just gonna slap it in. And now that I did get off my attack buff, I'm just gonna heal my Rosaria back to full HP. So definitely an interesting choice. And he just walked in. So I honestly didn't really showcase my Wedding Carmen that much, because that was just a very, very bad draft from the opponent, because like I mentioned, you almost never ever want your opponent to keep these 3 on the same team, because if they do, you just don't really have any other ways to answer that. Maybe if you picked out like a bell or something to silence, that could have been possible. If I were to be up in this scenario, I would have definitely not picked Welt's Asher and Emily first pick. If they just went for Rosaria and Faye, that would have been a lot better, right? Also, this operator pretty much just never sees playing PP. So that is pretty much it for our RTA showcase live demonstration. And I'm okay, actually, you know what, I'm 1 match away from 2000. I might as well just do like 1 more, right? Okay, goes for the bell, doesn't really concern me, so we're just gonna ban out the Rosaria. Okay, he bans Wedding Carmen, so I actually have a pretty nice comp set up over here. I'm gonna let my Emily take the speed, because my Welt's Asha is really 236, So if Bell does in fact land a silence on anyone, I don't really care, because I'd rather have two different fast units than one fast unit essentially. So his Carmen actually outsped. So we'll see if he lands a taunt. If he does not land a taunt here, ooh, that is a little bit unlucky for bro. Okay, so at this point we're just gonna arise. He could potentially go for a silence on the Bell, or rather a silence on the Kira. So let's just see what actually happens here. Okay, not even gonna lie, I'm just gonna pop this for the defense up. Hopefully Faye doesn't okay, actually won the game with it. Okay, he's most likely gonna be, yep. Oh, well, when 20% procs, 20%, that is gonna be, oh. Well, at the end of the day, bro, this game's RTA, like, if you are gonna get 20%, then, you know, not too much you can do, right? Which is why I would say Starsavier's RTA is really like, you can outluck bad drafts, but you can never outdraft a bad luck. So overall, I would say I do have quite a lot of experiences, or rather enjoyment playing Wearing Carmen in RTA. And if you guys find yourself like struggling to deal with the defender meta, or you just cannot keep a team alive, I think her value is definitely going to be up there for a Starsavior. Now, before I end off this video, I do want to point out this one very interesting thing, which is wearing Epindel's kit is actually already going to be up. So give me 1 second, let me pull up this real quick. Yeah, so as you guys can see right here, wearing Epindel's kit is actually gonna be already fully revealed. So if I can just kindly show you guys what she roughly does, then maybe it can help you guys understand your priorities, as well as your which one do you want to pull more between wearing Carmen as well as wearing Epindel. Number one, I don't really know if she's gonna be considered a limited character like wearing Carmen, because I can't really tell from this page. So I will just assume that she is, and you can only pick one. First off, her stat is gonna be 90 base speed, which is gonna be standard with your assassin and casters. They are usually very slow, so she's probably not gonna be a turn 2 unit. Her passive is gonna be seen over here, where you increase your attack at level max limit break, and gaining your ignition stacks every single time you have a sun attribute ally, which means that if you're going to be running her with units like Charlotte or Bonnie Charlotte, which gets extra turn, she'll instantly get 4 stacks of ignition. So by the time you get a crit into ignition, she's pretty much going to get max stacks. And the reason why you want to give her maximum stacks of ignition is pretty much going to be from your S2 right here, because you do get the extra turn as well as attack up. So the entire premise of wearing Epindel's kit is to deal absolutely insane damage to enemies with barrier, because 150% additional damage makes this as to deal 240% damage multiplier, which is pretty much the absolute highest amount of damage I've ever seen in the entire game so far against units with barrier. So I can definitely see her being in play against Emily, against Heidi, against Hilda. What other units give you barrier? But generally, I would say Emily, Heidi, Hilda are definitely going to be very susceptible to this barrier vulnerability. And then if you get the extra turn from S2 into S3, she also gains an additional speed up and reduces the action gauge of the target barrier by 20% on top of an additional 15% target. And because this multiplier is 66%, with barrier, that's going to be giving you to 81% for every single target over here. Full AoE, which means that I would say that wearing Epindel potentially can change the meta by quite a lot in RTA, because from what I've seen so far is that tank meta with Emily, with Heidi is still very strong, and we don't really have a very consistent way of answering those barriers just yet, because while you could prevent like attacks, like for example, you can prevent Emily's S3, you could like ignore Heidi's barrier, there really isn't a very good way to kill the barriers directly. But wearing Epindel is most likely going to change that. So considering that her competitive spirit in rather in PvP is definitely going to be out there as well. Some stages in PvE also has very high barrier uptime. For example, the current 26-36 boss, which is the 4-arm guy, he has a massive barrier because of that. So I would see Epindel having some kind of use as long as the enemy does have some barriers. So that is pretty much gonna be that for wearing Epindel, and I will kind of come to the end of this video right here on my overall thoughts on wearing Carmen. Definitely, once again, in summary, 10 out of 10 union RTA, probably 7 to 8 out of 10 in PvE, but that value does go up if you do not have a proper enough sustain. So let me know what you guys' thoughts are gonna be in the comments down below. Word of the day is gonna be absolutely insane skin right here. I mean, like, I personally prefer the plain skin, so it is what it is. Join Discord, use code POKE 10% gamer subs, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.